Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Helikon-tex Swagman Roll. The concept of the Swagman Roll isn't really a new thing. During the 18th century, about the only thing that soldiers had or hunters had when they went out into the wilderness for any extended period of time is a wool blanket. Now that wool blanket could be a very myriad of things depending on how you used it. One of the things that you could do with it, other than wrap yourself up and keep warm, is you could put it over your head, wrap it around your body, tie it off, and pull the loose corners around to the front and use a blanket pin or a sharp stick to stick through the blanket, and it made a hooded match coat. It was also a lot of other things. If you knew how to rig it right, you could make a blanket shelter out of it, and a lot of different things. It was pretty much your luggage because you would lay it out, you would put the belongings you're going to be taking with you, you'd fold it up, roll it up, tie it onto a tump line, throw it over your back, or sling it on your forehead. That was a very common use for it as well. But you would take that out into the wilderness, and that was pretty much all you had to keep you warm. Now the Swagman refers to an Australian term that was used with people that were on their foot traveling from place to place looking for work. And since they had no other way to transport their goods because they were on foot all the time, they didn't have horses and things like that when we had in the 18th century and even into the mid-19th century where we had pack animals to be able to transport our stuff, they would take those things and they were called swagmans. And so the bedroll that the Swagman would use was called the Swagman Roll. In modern times, the closest thing that we could think of as a Swagman Roll and which soldiers would use was the venerable poncho liner. And the poncho liner was not very warm. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It was warm enough to take a little bit of the chill off, and you could attach it to the inside of your poncho and you'd have some water protection with the warmth. But the one thing I could never figure out is why in the world wasn't there a hole in it for you to be able to slide your head through and into the hood of the poncho and be able to tie it out on the poncho the way you can when you're just basically making a waterproof blanket. Never could figure that one out. Well, over the years there were some companies that actually did that, and there were other companies that added zippers so you could actually make it a closed-in sleeping bag. Super lightweight for super warm weather. Definitely not a whole lot of insulated protection. Helikon-tex has taken that to the next level. They've made a true multi-purpose blanket system. And it is a little bit warmer than the poncho liner that I was issued when I was in the military. One of the nicest things about having an item in your kit is to be able to use it for more than one purpose. And the Helikon-tex Swagman Roll fits that bill to a T. Now on the website, there's not a whole lot of specifications on this very simple item. I'm going to go and run through the ones that are there. The basic weight is 782 grams, which is 27.6 ounces. The open dimensions are 142 by 200 centimeters and 57.04 by 78.74 inches. It's 100% nylon. It utilizes YKK zippers. The surface of the Swagman Roll is coated with ClimaShield and is stuffed with wind-packed nylon insulation. We're going to take a look at the Swagman Roll, but we're going to start off with the packaging. It comes in just a very simple, basic stuff sack. Has a nice little handle on the bottom, so when you open it up to pull the Swagman Roll out, you can. Now the one thing that impressed me about this, there's a lot of companies out there now that the first thing that you notice about any of their gear or any of their packaging, such as, a stuff sack, is they have a ridiculously oversized logo, and it's usually in a color that contrasts so strongly against the surface of whatever the color is of the item that it's a billboard for that company. You spend money on a product you're buying the product. If they want you to be advertising for them, they need to be paying you advertisement fees. That's a real pet peeve of mine. There's a couple companies that are notorious for it, and I won't mention them, but all you got to do is look on Instagram, look on YouTube, see reviews, and you'll see that the culprits that do this, and it's completely annoying. However, there is some print on the exterior of this. I'm going to move this in closer so you can see it. That demonstrates all the purposes of this product and gives all the instructions on how to care for it and all the specifications for it. Anything that you would need to know. It shows how to use each little portion. Now granted, they're just illustrations, and you look at the illustrations and sort of figure it out. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure those out. But if you notice, it is contrasting enough for you to see it with no problem, but it doesn't stand out. So the thing that I'm really all about, and you know it by now, some of you are very annoyed by it, is I like things that are neutral colored. I want things that are going to blend in to nature, including stuff sacks. So this one definitely fits the bill. Now, granted, this Swagman roll is in Camogram, which is Helikon-tex's version of multicam. This stuff sack is not multicam. And I know I made a big deal about my Special Forces sleep system that's multicam not having multicam stuff bags. Well, it is the same thing, but it's not really the same thing. This does go into your backpack. And even if you were to attach this to the outside of your backpack, it's neutral enough colored that it's not going to stand out like the really bright desert sand color of the Special Forces sleep system. Now I'm going to go ahead and step back and just show you how easy this is to take out. Has nice cord locks, nice cordage. The bag is made out of a nice ripstop nylon, very nice. And you want to remove it from the bag. Presto! Comes out like a charm. Now I'm going to be walking you through each one of the features that I have used extensively with the Swagman roll. Before I get into all the uses for the Swagman roll, I just want to walk you through all of the features that are readily visible as soon as you take it out of the pouch. It is completely zipped up right now, all the way, and this is the opening. The opening does not have a zip on it. It does, however, have draw cords, elasticized draw cords with cord locks. So you can pull this in very, very tight over your head or around your neck, however you want to use that. Also, you will notice that there are two toggles. Those toggles can be used in a lot of different ways, but they are designed to be able to lock into a GI issue poncho to make it a true poncho liner. The zippers go down, and you'll notice that there are Fast-Tex buckles. These buckles can be used to make a match coat, which I'll demonstrate here in a minute. Going further on down, you'll notice that there is another set of Fast-Tex buckles, male and female, and a elasticized draw webbing, so you can tighten that up. Going to the bottom, you have more draw cords, cord locks, and two more toggles. All the way down to the bottom, you have a nice elongated, easy to grip zip on the bottom portion of the bag, so you have a two-way zip. And I love that it's extended off so you can grab hold of that and pull it instead of trying to pull it with the fabric material that's real floppy. That's a real plus for me. And if you notice, they have cordage for the zip pulls, so you never have to worry about that something rigid getting worn out with different amounts of torque on it. Now we're going to go around to the back side of it, which is the opposite side of the zipper side. And about halfway down is the hood. The hood's tucked in. It can go either way. I just tuck it in for storage. And it has draw cords on either side with a nice cord lock. This one's a little bit different than the other one. And you have an incorporated pocket which you can shove this entire thing in to store it. You have Velcro that goes in. You can just shove it right in there for a stuff sack. And this also closes in and helps keep it from being a draft when you're using it as a sleeping bag. You have a nice center pocket, which is just like the one I have on my anorak. Excuse me. This is the integrated pocket. And inside that integrated pocket is you're stuffing it all in there. I don't use it for this. Is the same information that is on the carrying pouch. So the stuff sack, all the information that's on the stuff sack, which I already pointed out, is on the interior here. And to be perfectly honest with you, I've never used this feature, but you can get the entire thing inside this, which is pretty nice, because if you don't want the stuff sack, you don't necessarily have to use it. So we got the whole thing in there, and it's got the zip is a two-way zip. So you can zip this closed once you get everything in there. This is a snug fit, but it is doable. Now the draft feature that I just showed you with Velcroing the hood on the inside, that works out very, very well when you're using it as a top quilt or a sleeping bag. So now we have the Swagman Roll completely closed in on its own chest pocket, and a nice little loop for you to be able to hang that around camp. If you're not using it, you want to be quick access, you can do that. And right back out. And zip her back up. The idea of this being able to be two-way zip inside and out with a single zip pull is absolutely brilliant. Now, as far as I remember, those are all the features on the Swagman Roll. Now, let's demonstrate a few of the uses of the Swagman Roll. I'm going to start off with the key feature that everyone absolutely loves about this, and that's configuring this Swagman Roll into a match coat. You go ahead and start at the top of the opening. This is how it's configured when you're using it as a sleeping bag. Unbuckle your Helikon-tex buckles as you go. Take that all the way down to the end, and it does not come off. It locks into position, so that's nice. You don't have to worry about fumbling around trying to feed the zip back in to get it started to close it up. Find the front. Pull it right around, and you have this really nice insulated poncho liner. This is how you would wear it inside of a poncho. Now the thing that's really interesting about this, as far as making a match coat, is the Helikon-tex buckles. The front portion, just take it around and buckle it behind your back. I'm going to cinch that up a little bit. And then you take the back two, pull it to the front, locks in. You can do anything you need to around camp. And believe me, this really takes the chill off in the mornings when you first get up. It's cool, you're trying to get things gathered up around a fire. Note, safety note, this is nylon. Do not wear it close to your fire, okay? And if little sparks come off, it's going to melt right through it. So if you love your Swagman roll and you love your own skin, definitely don't wear it around the fire. Now, this is very comfortable, and it really locks out any of the wind draft, things like that. So this is an absolutely this is one of the things that most people love about this, is the fact that it's a garment and not just a poncho liner. In order to use your Swagman roll as an insulator for your poncho, first thing you want to do is you line up your hood for the opening. You line up the hood for your Swagman roll. You pull that in through. You hold your hood in a position there. And bring out the sides where they line up with your poncho. Go down to the bottom on both sides, the bottom corners of your poncho and the Swagman roll, and run your toggle through the eyelets of the grommets. Now, unfortunately, my OPSEC poncho has smaller grommets than the US GI issue one, so my toggle will not fit, which is unfortunate, and that would lock it into place. Then you simply, once you have the toggles all lined up into the poncho, you can go ahead and put it on just like your poncho, and you have an insulated wet weather garment. To utilize your Swagman roll as a sleeping bag, go to the bottom portion of it, zip that all the way up and through. Now you have the base body of the sleeping bag. Tuck your hood inside, and on the back of the hood there's a small piece of Velcro. You're going to pull this little pocket here apart with the Velcro and move that piece of Velcro up to the back portion of the hood, and that will prevent any draft from getting in when you're using it as a sleeping bag. I'm going to go ahead and lay this out so you can see how well it fits. I'll be perfectly honest with you, if you're a big fellow or a big gal, you're going to have a little bit of a time getting this zipped up all the way. I'm going to zip that down to about the bottom buckle. That will allow you to get into it pretty easily. Now you very easily can do this to where it's a center zip. You're just laying the part where the hood is on the back side and pull it up like that. So it can very easily be converted into a center set. Pull it up over here. It is just a little cramped for me around the shoulders. So if you are a good bit larger than me, if you're in the 6 foot range, it's just going to be, if you have broad shoulders and 6 foot, it's just going to be a little too snug. For me, it's pretty good. It holds pretty snug. There's no elbow room whatsoever. So if you need to do anything, you're going to need to unzip it to do it. And unfortunately, the zipper is only on the exterior. You don't have an interior zip. So it doesn't swing inside and out, just on the exterior. but it's fairly comfortable, and it's not exactly what I would purchase for a sleeping bag, but for something that's multi-use, multi-abilities, this works great. One of the ways I've used my Swagman Roll quite a bit is summer hammock camping. I use it primarily as a top quilt, however it can be utilized as a bottom quilt as well. Now to use that, we're opening at the top, and this is for a top quilt. You simply unzip it down to the second set of Fast-Tex buckles. And then fasten your, I'll bring this a little closer, you're going to fasten your Fast-Tex buckle through the zipper. Right like that. So that way it won't continue to unzip, and you have a nice foot box or a toe pocket. When you're in your hammock, you simply put your feet in the toe box while you're laying in your hammock and just pull this up over your body. And I've used this quite a bit as a top quilt, and it works great. Comes up right around here, and it's enough room for tuck underneath my arms, so it's very comfortable as a top quilt. Using it as a bottom quilt is every bit as easy. Unzip it completely. If you notice, this zipper has not snagged once during this video. Now once you have it completely unzipped, you're simply going to run this underneath your hammock on either side, and what you do, you can tie off. Usually it'd be best to use bungee cord to the loops of your toggles to stretch out on your tie out points on your hammock. And once you've done that, you simply cinch up the elastic ends. And there's elastic cordage on both sides, so that will draw that in on both sides and pucker it on both sides so you don't get any draft coming in. Now granted, this isn't nearly as long as your traditional underquilt. However, a lot of people like using the 3/4 or the half size underquilts. This would probably be the equivalent of a 3/4 underquilt. So you'll be able to adjust that to where it's going to stay under your torso, your hips, down to your knees, and you can find another way to insulate your feet if you need to. Again, this is much more of a summer weight and or an insulation multiplier for something else. But you definitely are going to sleep a little more comfortable in the summer if you have an underquilt and a top quilt. Now, had I thought about it when I first ordered this, I would have ordered two, because my summer hammock camping, this is absolutely ideal for my top quilt. I never get cold with it in the summer months, but in the summer evenings, it dips just a little bit chillier, and having us be able to pull up over me just takes that little bit of the chill off. Another feature, which really shouldn't be a feature, it should just be standard all the way around, is the fact that the Swagman Roll fits perfectly inside the stuff sack that they provide. You have no idea how many products I've purchased over the years that came with a stuff sack or a compression sack, and once you've taken the item out, unless you actually worked at the factory, you know how they put it in there. It's almost impossible to do it. So I've got all kinds of little bags and stuff sacks and compression bags that I use for other things because I can't use them for what they originally purchased for. And I don't get that. If they are trying to save money on materials by making packages that will get it to the consumer, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot, because the consumer notices that. And not everyone is a skilled packing technician. to be able to get the product back into the package like they do at the factory. There's actually room to spare in here. I used this last night in my secret fun spot, wild camp, and I utilized this as an insulation multiplier. And that's one thing they actually mentioned on here, to add additional insulation to a sleep system. And that's exactly what I did. When I first started sleeping, I was warm enough that where I did not need it. However, this is so easy to deploy that when I did need it, to unzip my sleeping system, to pull this out, take it down to where I needed to, lock in the zipper cord into those Fast-Tex buckles, get my toe in that toe box, pull it up. I used it as exactly like I would a top quilt. It was a whole lot easier that way, and it provided me the comfort I needed to get through the night. Because had I not had this, I would have been pretty much awake the entire night. Temperature dropped down just below to the point of the comfort factor of my sleeping bag, and this was a godsend. This worked out well. So not only can you use it as a poncho liner, you can use it as a blanket, you can use it as a sleeping bag, you can use it as a match coat, you can utilize it as a top quilt, a bottom quilt, you can utilize it as an insulation multiplier. Now, when I was going through getting my information, my specifications, I completely forgot to look at what the going price is. So I'll put that in the bottom of the screen when I go through my editing, so you can see that. I have used this for a year now, and I take pretty good care of my stuff. There's not a whole lot of things that I would ever intentionally abuse, unless by some chance, some fluke of the imagination, someone down the road sends me something and say, John, abuse this. Try your best to destroy it, and let me know what happens. I would do it then, but I take pretty good care of my kit. Money doesn't grow on trees, so I want to make every single one of my dollars and my bushcrafting, wild camping purchases go for as long as it possibly can. This item I have used, I take it with me a lot, even though sometimes I don't use it because it's so compact and lightweight. I've had this for a year, and I have used this at least in 3/4 of all the wild camping that I've done in the past year. So as far as I'm concerned, for everything that I have used it for, which I've never used it as just like a blanket you lay out on the ground, which is one of the pictures here, a universal blanket. I've never used it like that for picnics or anything else like that. But just about everything else I have. I haven't used it as a bottom quilt. I've used it as top quilt, used it as match coat. I have used it as a sleeping bag and an insulation multiplier. So for all the reasons that I have used this, I would endorse this wholeheartedly. It is a fantastic piece of kit. Granted, I mean, it's pretty much for the warmer months. And one of the things that I have seen on videos is that the Climate Shield coating that they put on the exterior of it, it's supposed to make it, if not waterproof, water resistant, and so you can wear it in the rain and things like that. I have never done that, and I will never do that. As long as I have a poncho to be able to put over this, it would have to be a dire situation for me to be able to expose this to moisture. To me, it's much more of a valuable piece of kit if it's dry. And even if by any chance the Climate Shield coating does work exactly the way it's supposed to, I'm not going to trust it. I'm just not going to do it. Survival situation, if I absolutely positively have to, then that would be the only way I would try it. All the way around, great piece of kit, and I look forward to using this for many, many years. All of the buckles, the toggles, the cordage, the cord locks, the zipper, all of these items that a lot of companies skimp on when they produce their products, Helikon-tex has not. All of the items that are on here are good quality, and especially the zippers. I'm a real stickler for zippers, and if I have something that constantly snags when I'm trying to zip up or down or whatever, if it snags frequently, I get rid of it. I'm not wasting my time with it. It's not worth the frustration for me. But this right here has never been an issue for me. Well, folks, that pretty much wraps up my review of the Helikon-tex Swagman Roll. And hopefully you found the information I provided today useful as far as, you know, making a deciding factor one way or the other if by any chance you were thinking about purchasing one of these. I'm glad that I did, and it's a piece of kit that has really come in handy for multiple reasons throughout the year that I have used it, and I would endorse it. Good piece of kit. If by any chance you have one of these and you have some really cool stories to tell about it, or maybe you've used it for another use other than the ones that I've discussed on the video, make sure you get in the comments and let me know. If you have one and you've had problems with it, you don't like it, things like that, comment about that too. Let me know why. Because when people start reading these comments, that right there is where the real meat of the matter comes from these videos. And you know, I know what I know, and I also know that I forget to say stuff when I'm making videos. I'm not a professional. And so when people read the comments, they're getting more information than what I provide in the videos. I provide X amount. And I have read a lot of the things in the comments to my videos that have really enhanced my bushcrafting and wild camping bag of tricks. And I appreciate that very much. And I know if I appreciate it, other people that are reading the comments, and a lot of you do read the comments, really glean this information. And so if you have any comments, good, bad, whatsoever, that you can add to the conversation about the Swagman Roll, please do so. I'd really appreciate it. Well, folks, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.